this one. I was telling you all about, on my last little walk, I was just telling you about how me and my wife, I got to a junction with my wife. Before I met my wife. So obviously I'd been in business, I'd been a DJ for getting on to 30 years. A workaholic, working 7 days a week. Never having holidays, not really. I only remember having 2 holidays in all of those 30 years. One was in Cyprus, one was in Tenerife. Didn't really enjoy them. I wanted to be at work. When you run your own business, guys, you don't want to leave it. You want to be there all the time. Me and my brother, actually no, I'll tell you about how we got in business. Hi Linda. How you going? I'm going to tell you my story how I got into business. Linda, you want to hear it? So I grew up in a very poor family, yeah? My father wasn't kind to me. He wasn't very nice. He was a typical 1950s dad, even though I grew up in the 60s. In the 70s. He was a typical dad that hit the kids, hit the wife, and felt that he was a good father because he kept his family in line by hitting them. Hi Elizabeth. I'm going to tell you guys how I got into business. How someone that had nothing could get into business. Someone who left school at 15 could get into business. Yeah, I literally had nothing. My parents had left the country. My parents left the country when I was 18. I had nothing. Nothing. So I'm going to tell you how someone who had nothing can have so much success. Now remember, I had a twin brother. Yeah? So my childhood was pretty simple. We lived above an old cafe. Yeah, my parents had gone back to Cyprus, not me. I was born in the UK. Both my parents are from Cyprus, okay? They came over to London in the 1960s. They had family, no, not family, they had friends in London, no family, yeah? Actually, no, that's not true. My mum's brother lived in London. My mum's brother lived in New Cross in London. Now, my dad did run a little cafe in London, but he was a mechanic. My dad used to work for the British Army, fixing the tanks and the cars, the aeroplanes. He wasn't in the army, he just worked for them. And that is where my dad learned to speak English. And because my dad could speak English, he was one of the few people, that could speak English. Not many people could speak English in Cyprus back then. So the reason he could is because he worked for the British Army, yeah? So that made my dad want to come to England. The streets are paved in gold in London. My dad wanted to come to London, and my dad did have some friends who wanted to come with him to London. My dad had no money. He was a gambler. He loved gambling. A very handsome man. He had that Elvis look. He had the Dean Martin look. Well, there we are. Linda's, your dad was a mechanic. My dad had the Dean Martin look. The Elvis-y Dean Martin look. My dad loved Martin. He loved Frank Sinatra. He loved Elvis. He liked the Beatles. Yeah. I would say he preferred the Rat Pack. Yeah. Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., all that. Yeah. Very handsome, very well dressed. My dad loved to go to expensive places, casinos, and he had a few very good looking girlfriends in the 60s, yeah. My dad was strikingly good looking, yeah, he was. So when my mum was introduced to my dad, my mum lived at New Cross and she worked at a dressmaker's. My mum couldn't speak English. She lived in London, but she could not speak English. Her brother had encouraged her to come to England and got her a job in a factory making dresses. And she always says to me that she worked with loads of black women in London, and she loved them. She absolutely loved the black women, my mum did, yeah? They were so kind to her. She saved up some money. So when she met my dad being a gambler didn't have any money. Because he gambled it all away playing poker, betting it on the horses. Horse racing. My dad was a very bad gambler, yeah? But he was a real good-looking ladies' man. Very charming, very funny. So at some point, they encouraged my dad to move to Weston-super-Mare. Weston-super-Mare is where I now live. I was born in Weston-super-Mare. And he worked as in a restaurant, in a cafe, clearing tables, cooking, helping in the cafe. And they lived in a little room above this cafe. Eventually, my dad decides he wants to rent a cafe that used to be an Indian restaurant on a back street. Now, guess what? My dad had no money. So my dad used my mum's savings to rent this cafe in Weston-super-Mare, the cafe that used to be an Indian restaurant, yeah? And he converted the Indian restaurant into just a normal cafe, yeah? You know, like with a jukebox, selling burgers and omelettes and roast dinners, egg, you know, fried breakfast. So my dad and my mum get engaged, get married. They have a very cheap wedding because they had no money. And they start running this cafe. Now the problem with this cafe is that it didn't make any money. So they were running this cafe at a loss. And me and my kids, I had a twin brother and two sisters. I've still got two sisters, yeah? My sisters are a year older than me and 2 years older than me. So my elder sister is 59, my other sister is 60, something like that, yeah? I still see them, I still see my sisters, yeah? Vivian and Dora, they live in Weston-super-Mare. They both got grown-up kids. Anyway, don't forget my mother is still alive, yeah? She's in a nursing home. She's 80 and she's still healthy. Yeah, I visit her as much as I can, but you know, she doesn't like me visiting too much, my mum. She tells me off. She tells me off for visiting too much. Yeah, I'm lucky to still have my mum. My dad died very young. My dad was 64 years old when he died. Hi, Donna. How you going? Hi, Karen. How you going? We're just having a chat about my life. How I got into business. So I was naughty at school. Oh, thanks, Karen. I was naughty. So Karen is arranging something, Donna Presley, for me and for us, for Team Elvis. So I'll just let you know about that. Some good stuff's coming from Donna Presley, guys. We know we love Donna Presley, Elvis' first cousin. Anyway, and Karen, of course. Karen is an amazing ballet teacher. Anyway, let's keep going. So I was naughty at school. I was naughty, I admit it, guys. I grew up in a very naughty area. All the kids that I grew up with were very naughty. They were into shoplifting and they would break things, you know, vandalism, and they would swear and smoke, all the usual stuff. Pretty crazy childhood. All of my friends would get in trouble with the police, you know. So I enjoyed it, but it was a recipe for disaster. I didn't do well at school. I completely failed at school, even though I wasn't thick or anything. I just couldn't be bothered. I just wanted to have fun and play with my mates. I didn't want to learn. So I didn't like school because I wanted to make money. I wanted to make money, guys. I just wanted to get a job. And I had a job as a washer-upper when I was about 11 years old. I was earning money. This is the early 80s, yeah? Late 70s. No, this would have been the late 70s, yeah? I had a job as a washer-upper. I would stand on a box and do the washing up in a cafe up the road from me, yeah? And I knew that if I wanted money, I had to work for it. Yeah, we love Donna Presley and Karen. So I was working for my dad in his cafe, which wasn't making any money. Because the cafe wasn't making money, in the winter, my dad would work as a waiter in Bristol, in a Greek restaurant with his friends. But then he would stay out all night gambling and spend all the money. So we had no money. My dad would gamble all our money. We never got Christmas presents. We never got birthday presents. My dad had no money. He would gamble everything. He was also quite violent. He would hit me and the kids and my mum. The sad thing is, my dad also had a lovely side to his personality. My dad could be absolutely lovely. It's very sad that my dad would go from one extreme to the other. So, how did I get into business with no money? It was really simple. So I watched my dad. It is a bit sad, Linda, but I'm okay. It did me good because I learnt to be independent. I learnt to fight for myself. So how did I get into business? By the time I was 19, I got into business. How? My parents went back to Cyprus. So I got a job in a suit department for Burton's Menswear. Burton's Menswear. Then I moved to a different clothing shop called Blazer Menswear, which was in Bristol. Both jobs were in Bristol. Me and my twin brother rented a tiny little one room flat. A one room flat. Now what happened was, I used to like the thought of having a Sunday market stall. You know, like you get car boot sale. Well, in those days, you didn't do a car boot sale. In those days, you set up a table on a field, and I used to go to work in my clothes shop, and I would get a tea break, and I would look out the window, and I'd see this man with a table on the high street, you know, where the shops are, selling jewelry, and I would watch him, and he would get these little queues. People buying the jewelry from his little table. I think he had a wheelbarrow, yeah? He would do it on a wheelbarrow, yeah? Quite a nice wheelbarrow, yeah? A big wooden one, a really nice one. And I used to say to my twin brother, oh, I want to do that. I want to get a little stall. I was getting paid £90 a week. By the time I paid all my bills, I couldn't, I had no money for anything, yeah? Because I paid for my traveling, the rent of my flat, electric. So I would eat cabbage and gravy every day. This is no lie, guys. I would buy a cabbage, I would buy a tin of gravy, and every night for a year I ate cabbage and gravy because I had no money. And I used to say to my brother, I'm fed up, I don't have any money. I want to do a business. So I used to say to my twin brother, I'm going to do a market stall. I want to do a store where you buy a table, get loads of gifts, souvenirs, gifts, on Weston-super-Mare Seaside, on the promenade of my town, on the beach. So no one believed that I was going to do it. So I went to my bank manager when I was 19, and I said to him, look, I want to set up a store, but I need the money to buy the stock, to buy, you know, the stuff I'm going to sell. I wanted to rent a unit inside an indoor market. I'd already found the unit. There was a small unit for in an indoor market. I was going to sell was Weston-super-Mare souvenirs, yeah? I was going to sell beach goods and gifts and figurines and trinkets, and it was going to be for the old ladies coming into the market. So I met this guy called Ray. He wanted £112.50. It could be, I think it was that, a week. I picked out my unit, which was the smallest unit in the indoor market. It was right on the seafront of Weston-super-Mare, the beach. It faced the promenade. To B&Q, which was a DIY shop, and I bought loads of shelves. A guy came with me called Paul Beckham, just a friend. He helped me put the shelves up. Then I found a material shop that I bought loads of red material that covered my tables, and they were wallpaper tables, yeah? So then I found this place in Bristol that sold things that I could sell. It was a wholesaler's. I borrowed someone's car, and I went to the bank manager, and the bank manager loaned me £2,000. The first thing I did was bought some shoes, because I couldn't afford shoes. So when the bank manager lent me £2,000, I went straight to Bristol and bought some shoes on Park Street. Yeah, I remember those shoes, I loved them. So then I got my stock, I put my shelves up, and then opening day came for my market stall on the seafront. I had all my stuff all set out. It was a really cute little store. It was the smallest store in the whole market. But I tell you what, guys, I had the biggest queues. There were loads of other stalls, very impressive stalls, very big stalls, yeah? Mine was the cutest one, and mine was the one that sold everything cheap. So mine was the one that sold things for £1, £2, 50p. It was like the original pound shop. Back in those days, guys, in 1989, there were no pound shops, yeah? So my little store, remember I was getting £90 a week wages, yeah? My little store was making over £100 a day. So literally, by taking this gamble and quitting my job, because I had to quit my job, everyone was trying to talk me out of quitting my job. So literally, by taking this gamble of renting this store, by making the effort to find out where the wholesalers are, borrowing £2,000 from the bank, I suddenly was on £100 a day wages. Obviously, it wasn't profit. It was £100 a day turnover. So I was on a lot more money. And then my brother approached me. My brother said to me, my twin brother, because he had a job running a garage, yeah? He was working in a garage, yeah? So then my brother approached me, and he wanted to rent a chip shop, a fish and chip shop. My twin brother, yeah, Andreas. So he found a chip shop that was up for rent. The guy was fed up. He was a Welsh guy called Cyril. And the Welsh guy was just fed up. He wanted out. So my brother said to him, look, we can't afford to pay you rent. Can we pay it at the end of each month? So the Welsh guy said yes, yeah. So we rented the fish and chip shop from the Welsh guy. My brother said to me, we'll go partners on your gift shop. So me and my brother, my twin brother, became partners in the gift shop and partners in the chip shop. We were working every day and every night. So during the day, I would work in the gift shop. My brother would work in the fish and chip shop. At night, we would both work in the fish and chip shop, but we increased the menu. So instead of just selling like fish and chips, pie and chips, sausage and chips, we added pizzas, we added burgers, we added kebabs, doner kebabs, yeah? So basically, and we were staying open late, so when the nightclubs and the discos closed, everybody would come out, and obviously we were young, good-looking guys. We were only 19 years old. All the girls would come out and queue up. So we never looked back after that, guys. Once we did the gift shop and we did the fish and chip shop, we always had money. Within a year, we bought a house. Obviously, we did a mortgage. We mortgaged the house, yeah? So we had a house, and then we started buying other businesses. So we rented another chip shop. We rented a bar. Then we rented another bar. Eventually, we started buying the buildings. Then we did an amusement arcade. You know, do you know what an amusement arcade is, guys? Then eventually we did, what did we do after the, oh yeah, we did a little cafe. We did like a fish and chip sit-down cafe. And then eventually we bought this massive building. This building was enormous, yeah? It was a massive bank loan. It was a 1.3 million bank loan. 1.3 million British pounds. bank loan. It's the biggest gamble we've ever taken. We risked everything. Oh yeah, we started with nothing, Linda. No one helped us. My parents weren't even in England. My parents were in Cyprus, yeah? My parents didn't have any money. My parents were very poor. It was a very brave move. It was scary. So we rented out this building, and this is where we got the big nightclub, because the ground floor of the building was a massive 1,200 people nightclub, and this is I DJ'd in that nightclub, yeah? I also DJ'd in my bars as well. We had 3 bars, and I would DJ in all the bars. So the top of the building was derelict, completely wrecked. The massive giant building that we built, that we mortgaged, and we created 11 flats. So the building where the nightclub is has now got 11 flats above it. So this is when we start increasing our income. So we have quite a few buildings, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, amusement arcade. We have the 11 flats. We have the giant nightclub, yeah? So then we just carry on running those things for about 25 years, yeah? Working every day. We were workaholics. Paying the mortgage down. Bit by bit, we paid the mortgage off. Slowly over 25 years, we paid off all our mortgages. So once we came to a point where the mortgage was nearly paid, we then decided that we were going to retire and rent everything. So we still own all the buildings, but we have rented everything. So now everything is rented. So the flats are rented. Yes, it worked in the long run, yeah? But, you know, we really were working hard. We were doing 100 hours a week for 25 years, yeah? No holidays, no days off. We really did overwork. So eventually, when we get into our mid-40s, when I was 46, after 30 years of really working hard, I said to my brother, let's just rent everything. Just rent everything and free ourselves up. Plus, don't forget, I had 2 kids. No, I had 3 kids with Aurora. So I wanted to be with Aurora. I wanted to be with the kids, yeah? So my brother didn't want to retire. He didn't want to rent everything. This little cat here. My brother didn't want to rent everything. It was something I wanted to do. I had to nag him into it because my brother was a workaholic, yeah? So I just kept saying to my brother, come on, my twin brother, come on, we need to have some time off. We're always working. We never see our wives. We never see our kids. We're always at work. So bit by bit, I did talk him into it. And we rented everything. We were quite nervous, you know, because obviously we were so used to working every day, 7 days a week. So, but it just worked out. The rent started coming in. We did have problems with tenants, you know, people not paying their rent. We did have problems. You know, the shops would go empty. Then we'd have to wait for a new tenant in the commercial properties. But overall, it was the best thing we ever did. We did have to take... Yeah, I'm a workaholic with the defending Elvis thing. I am. It's just the way I am. I'm just like that, yeah? Like when I was a little kid at school, I had to peel all the potatoes and make chips for my dad's chip shop after school every day, honestly. 7 days a week, my dad, when I was a little kid, even when I was about 9 years old, would make me peel potatoes and cut chips when I literally was 9 years old. And I had to do that until I was 15. Yeah, and he never paid me. I had to do it just because I was his son. So I was used to working hard. I was used to coming home every day after school and peeling potatoes, cutting chips. It was just the norm for me. I got used to it. So I can peel a potato quicker than anyone. I can make chips quicker than anyone. I do think that is where I learned the work ethic, Linda. I do think that it came from peeling those potatoes every day. Funny, when I look back on it, it's funny. So we rented everything. We did have some problems, but generally it freed us up. We did have to take a big pay cut. when we rented everything, our wages halved, yeah? We had a massive reduction in wages, but it was worth it. It was worth it because I got to be with my wife, I got to be with my kids, so it was a good decision. I was 46 years old. Obviously, I'm 58 now. Yeah, I didn't have a choice, Linda. If I didn't peel those potatoes and make those chips, my dad give me a slap round the face. Yeah, so I remember asking him for money once and he hit me. So my dad could be pretty cruel, yeah. But the funny thing is, he could be pretty nice. My dad could be really nice as well. This is the crazy thing. Sometimes I wonder if that generation think that hitting your kids, hitting your wife made you a good father. It's a different time, isn't it, guys? The 1960s and 70s, very different, yeah? I would never hit my kids. I would never hit my wife. I wouldn't dream of it, never. If I hit my wife, she'd hit me. Seriously, if I hit my wife, she'd give me a smack round the face. I just don't believe in hitting kids or women. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to go. I'm home now, but thanks for joining me and listening to my story. How to get into business with nothing. So obviously now I'm 58 now, guys. I'm pretty secure now. So I think it is, yes, a generational thing. Yeah, it was the best decision because I got to be with my kids and my wife wanted to go back to work. So I wanted to look after the kids. So my wife went back to work and I looked after the kids. I loved it. I loved being a dad. I did all the nappy changing, all the giving the kids milk and all that. I did all that. Eventually when they got older, all the school runs. I loved being a dad. Loved it, loved it. I can proudly say that I changed the nappies of all my kids. Anyway, guys, gotta go. I'm home. I'm not sure. I'm hoping to do one live tonight. Let's see what happens. Love you all, guys. Take care.